in terms of Heisman candidates, one, who is your favorite? And are there any guys that are like, okay, let's see how this guy looks. Maybe he kind of emerges as a guy. I have like, well, there's an easy favorite, but I also have another guy that I think is really good and could make a little noise for the award. But in terms of the Heisman Trophy, who do you think is going to take it home?
Here, I'll shoot one out there, and then we could like go back and forth. I'm a big fan of Bijan Robinson. I love him out of Texas. He actually came from the high school somewhere in my vicinity that I'm not gonna list out here. But the dude's just a monster. He is like, you hear that saying when it comes to like defensive linemen, they're like a bull in a china shop. He's like a bull if you taught that bull how to like ballroom dance. He's so good in close quarters. The dude can literally just burst off for like 40 yards. Like I remember that Oklahoma game, I was like, man, he's not doing much. And then second quarter just opens it up, and he's just so fun. He's also a guy that doesn't necessarily have to stick in the backfield. You could put him in the slot, you could put him on the outside. Like he's so diverse. Now he has a quarterback that, well, we assume knows what he's doing there in Quinn. So like, I don't know. I think that offense is going to be fun, but yeah, I'm just going to throw Bijan's name out there.
Yeah, I think the favorites are clearly CJ Stroud and Bryce Young. Anytime you have a returning Heisman winner and a second or third place finisher, those guys got to be the favorite. And I think Bryce Young has a really good chance to repeat. And I think CJ Stroud, you see this sometimes with the Heisman committee. There's a guy who gets snubbed that comes back. He kind of gets like the benefit of the doubt from some of the voters. And I think there's going to be a very large campaign across the Midwest with voters to give him those votes, regardless of the kind of, as long as he has a decent season. There's going to be voters who already have them written and pinned on their ballot. But I'm going to throw in a West Coast guy that I don't think a lot of people know, Cameron Ward. Put money on it. This kid is legit. Transfer from Incarnate Word to Washington State. This guy's a FCS All-American, was named the Jerry Rice Award winner last spring, which is given to the freshman of the year, was the Southland Conference Offensive Player of the Year last year, led Incarnate Word to the playoffs, threw for 4,600 yards and completed over 65% of his passes for 47 touchdowns. I mean, he averaged over 350 per game. And as a true freshman, on top of that, threw for 2,224 touchdowns and just, I think they only played 6 games that spring season. So listen, he's got the prototypical size, athleticism, decision-making, accuracy. This guy's 6'2", 220 and out of Texas. And the only reason he went to Incarnate Word is I've got to talk to his dad. He ran the wing T in high school, and his high school coach wouldn't budge. So he threw like 3 passes in high school. So no one recruited him. He goes to Incarnate Word and lights up the scoreboard. And he's like, yeah, I've been able to do this. I just never got the chance. And just to kind of give you the hype he has, he was named to the Maxwell Award list already for the preseason, hasn't even taken a snap at FBS football, and was a preseason Pac-12 All-American in Athlon Sports and never taken a snap in the Pac-12. So I like Cameron Ward, and I think right now he's the best quarterback in the Pac-12, and it's not even a debate. And I think he's a top 5 quarterback in college football right now.
Yeah, that's high praise, and it's also not like the Pac-12 just doesn't have talented quarterbacks. You also have Caleb Williams, who just transferred there. We talked about him a lot at USC. I find that's an exciting one. I definitely CJ Stroud, Bryce Young being the favorites. But Broshman, you brought up Bijan Robinson. That was kind of the guy that I wanted to say, hey, let's if a running back's gonna win it, it's gonna be Bijan. I mean, he's a guy that is potentially gonna be a top 10 pick, and let's see if a team reaches, but we've seen, I mean, even Najee Harris doesn't go top 10. We've seen NFL teams kind of lay low when it comes to drafting running backs high, and he's a guy that could potentially be a top 10 back. That's how much talent is there. Now, you wonder how good Texas is going to be to kind of get that momentum for him. I'm not a big Steve Sarkisian guy, but I
got a first place
definitely
vote.
see the talent.
They got that first place vote. That hang the banner.
Yeah, so outside of the offensive players, I do have one other guy that I think we have to bring up just because the talent is so ridiculous, but Will Anderson. Is there any chance that we see him take it home and we see a defensive player take the award, or are those days kind of behind us in college football?
It's definitely possible, man. That dude's pressure rate is insane. He is destructive. Oh, I don't know, man. Heisman's typically an offensive award, so it's gonna like if he could build upon what he's already done, which I think is stupid impressive, then we'll see. But yeah, no, it's gonna be a long shot, especially with a guy like especially if Stroud's in the conversation, because then you gotta believe Jackson Smith and Jigba gets the Devontae. Oh my gosh, Devontae Smith treatment. There we go.
Yeah.
How can I forget Devontae Smith?
I mean, I'm of the mindset, and this is a controversial opinion. He should have won it last year. Really and truly. I mean, like I don't think people understand his stats. Like really and truly, and watched any film. This guy played defensive end and had 101 tackles on the defensive line, 31 for loss, and 17 and a half sacks. Like what? How do you build on that? Like,
Exactly.
what do you want him to do? Like, if a defensive player was going to win it, what else would you ask for him? Like, what do you want him to go play quarterback too on top of
Return
100 tackles?
punts.
And yeah, like what? And the is I think the Heisman committee back in '97 handed a guy a Heisman trophy on the defense side of the ball who didn't deserve it, and they got so much backlash. Like, if you go back and look at Woodson's year, that dude shouldn't even been a final. He had a garbage year for a cornerback, and a special teams doesn't get you a Heisman, in my opinion. And so the fact that they took that much heat for that, I think they're going to be very, very cautious. Ndamukong Suh was the most dominant player in '09, should have won that Heisman, and Will Anderson should have won it last year. If he goes out this year and puts up over 100 tackles, has another 30-plus tackle for loss year, and hits 20 sacks, and they don't give it to him, everyone on that committee should lose their ability to vote, because I don't care if a quarterback throws for 10,000 yards. Will Anderson deserves the Heisman.
I like it. I like the take. I feel like we gotta go back to giving defensive players a little bit more love. I mean, kind of you were talking about like what else can he do? Does he have to play quarterback? I feel like that's almost like the JJ Watt argument for the MVP quite a few years ago when he had like 3 or 4 touchdowns. It's like, all right, this guy's lining up even at tight end. He's lining up in the goal line and catching passes. Like
Or Aaron Donald every year.
Yeah, every year Aaron Donald, exactly. But you know, it's definitely crazy when you have a guy that's that dominant. 100 tackles playing DN. That is something that you rarely see. True video game numbers from Will Anderson.
And it's not like he's just out there by himself. It's not like he's playing for, I don't want to insult anybody. Like, no offense to anyone who's a Utah State fan. It's not like he's playing for Utah State and he's the only guy who, like, he's playing with like 8 other 5-stars who could go get set. Like, there's 2 defensive tackles who just went to the NFL draft next to him, a 5-star with 3 sacks in the Natty across from him, and he's still doing this. Like, I don't know if you guys watched the Bama spring game where they were interviewing Nick Saban during the game. They had to take Will Anderson out of the spring game because Nick Saban said the offense couldn't get good reps. And Alabama has the best offensive line in college football probably going into next year, and he was embarrassing people. I mean, listen, I'm tired. As a former lineman don't get enough respect anyway. The fact that Will Anderson gets 0, and the fact they invited Aiden Hutchinson to New York, wherever the Heisman ceremony is, was a scam for college football.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. I feel like for Will Anderson, it's almost like in terms of looking at that defense on Alabama, it's almost like all right, we're all going to get to the quarterback on this play, but who's going to get there first? And that's how Will Anderson's numbers are so crazy. So he's almost competing with the guys that are on the same D line of him to end up getting these actual sacks. So I didn't see that about Nick Saban saying that though, but that kind of just shows how dominant of a player he is. So I don't know. I wanted to float the idea because we don't give defensive players that much love in the Heisman discussion or really in award discussions anymore. So I thought that was an interesting one.